so continuing on with math. We are ready to turn it over to the back side of that page if you haven't already, to number 3. Now, what we're going to do here is we would have to write the fraction for where A is located on this number line. So we have to decide how many equal parts are there from 0 to 1. So count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I were labeling each fraction on there, this would be what? 1/4.
2/4. 3/4. 4/4.
So where is A located on the number line? Write the fraction where A is. What did you write?
3/4.
Because it's on 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. All right, let's look at part 4 here. How many whole numbers do we have?
3.
There are 3 whole numbers. Okay, so each part, let's look at it from 0 to 1. How many equal parts are there between 0 and 1? 1, 2, 3. What about from 1 to 2? 1, 2, 3. What's it probably going to be from 2 to 3? 3 again. So it's split into thirds, right? When we break things into 3 parts, it's called thirds. So this would be 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, which equals 1 whole. This would be 1 and 1/3, 1 and 2/3, 2 wholes, right? So now this would be 2 and 1/3. Because if I were going to label all of these, friends, of course we have 1/3, right? We already said that. 2/3. 1 whole equals 3/3. I could say this is 4/3, and this is 5/3, and 6/3. That would be correct. But I could also say it is 1 and 1/3. 1 and 2/3. Now we have 2 wholes, which is the same thing as 1 and 3/3. Now I'm going to start over. I have 2 wholes, and what fraction is that? 1/3. What would this one be? 2 wholes and 2/3. Kind of tricky, isn't it? So what's the fraction for where A is? 2 and 1/3. Remember how we can check that to see if we're right? What's 2 times 3? 6 plus 1 more?
7.
So as an improper fraction, where the numerator is bigger than the denominator, it would be 7/3. Okay, we're going to skip 5. Let's go to 6. We are going to have to make our own number line now. All right. So we're going to start our number line with 0, and it's going to end with 1. How many equal parts do we need to have in this number line?
6.
There are 6, and that's what our denominator tells us. 6 equal parts. So split this up into 6 equal parts. As close as you can to equal parts. All right, do you have that part created? Double check, make sure you have 6 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Count on yours. For sure, 6 parts in it. Okay. On your number line, point to where 4/6 would be. Just point to it for right now. 4/6. Okay, so double checking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, keep your finger on yours where you think it's at. Count with me. Do I count here? No, what is this? 0. So 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6. So I'm going to put a dot there, and then I'm going to label 4/6. Do that on yours. You can either label it above or below, either one. Look at part B. What is this fraction?
4.
6 fourths. So our numerator is larger than our denominator, right? So is it more than 1 whole? It is. So we need to make a number line that has 0, 1, and 2. How many equal parts are in each one of these holes? From 0 to 1, how many equal parts?
4.
What does our denominator tell us? 4. So each one of these needs to be split up into how many equal parts? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. What about from 1 to 2?
4.
Also 4. All right. would 6/4 go on your number line? Point to where you think it needs to go. 6/4. Count again. Count. 6/4. This tells you how many you're moving across. One. You don't count that one first. Our numerator tells us how many we're counting across, how many parts we're counting, right? How many parts are we counting on this one? 6. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one is 6/4, which is also the same as 1 3/4. Sorry. Yes. 1 3/4. Okay. Now, how much time do we have left? We have this one and one more that we tore out. Is that correct? All right. I'm just looking ahead. Okay. So looking at 477, let's look at the example. The number line shows this section from 0 to 1. The area model shows one whole. So each one of these units is worth how much up in here?
1 whole.
No, from here to here, this is
1/6.
1/6. From here to here, it is 1/6. From here to here, it's 1/6. Each unit is 1/6. But from 0 to 1, it's split up into 6 equal parts, right? So if we have these two together, now we have 2/6. If we have these three together, we have 3/6, and so on. Okay? So each part, each unit of the whole is 1/6. Let's look at this one. Use the area model and number line below to solve problems 1 through 4. So what are they going to have you do on these 4 lines? What do you think you're going to write? Finish writing the fractions, friends, to complete that number line. All right, you should have had enough time to complete that now. So now look at part 1. How many equal parts are there in this whole? So count how many equal parts there are and write that number down for part 1. Okay, part 2. What fraction does each part show? So this part, they're all that same fraction. What's the fraction for this part? That tells you, write it down. I'm seeing who's been following along with what we've been doing today and what you worked on last week. Remember, this is like the unit fraction that you write here. 3 says label the marks on the number line. We did that first. 4. What is another name for 1? What's the fraction that you can write for 1 on this number line? What fraction equals 1 on here? Friends, it's what you wrote for the fraction right here that equals 1. Okay, look at 5. So now it's not just 0 to 1, it's 0 to 1 and then 1 to 2. How many equal parts are there between 0 and 1? Write down how many equal parts there are. And then for number 6, how many equal parts are there between 1 and 2? Okay, does everybody have 5 and 6 done? Look at 7. What fraction does each part show? So you're just going off of what this first one is. It tells you what the fraction would be for each of those parts. Each one is split into one what? Write that fraction. And then after you have that, go ahead and finish labeling those 4 fractions that are missing from up there. Right, do you have those labeled? Okay. For problems 9 through 11, so for these 3, you're going to use this number line here. All right, it goes from 0 to 1 and 1 to 2. So here's what I want you to do to help yourself out. I want you to write the fractions. Even on the whole numbers, write the fractions that those would be for each one of those marks. From 0 to 1, how many equal parts are there between 0 and 1? Okay, did you get those labeled?
Yeah.
All right, now write down what the fraction is for A, write what the fraction is for B, and then write what the fraction is for C. You have to count how many equal parts there are between 0 and 1 to figure out what the denominator is. Everybody get that? Okay, now on 12, we're going to have to write the fraction 3 halves on this number line. So look between 0 and 1. Do you see how many equal parts there are between 0 and 1? However many equal parts there are, that's your denominator. So then count across 3 halves. Where are you going to label 3 halves on there? And then tell how you knew down at the bottom after you have that labeled. How did you know where you needed to label it? Friends, if we look at this, from 0 to 1, how many equal parts are there?
2.
2. So we know that our denominator for each of these is 2. So this one would be what?
2.
No,
1
1 half. What would this next one be? 2 halves. Can you figure out where 3 halves would be?
Yes.
Label it if you haven't already. And then explain how you figured out where to put 3 halves. To write the fractions for each of those. When you have that done, make sure your name is on the front side of that paper.